Good day, viewers. Welcome to a new edition of 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television with me, Manir Dan Ali. Our guest today is the Federal Minister in charge of the Foreign Affairs Ministry of Nigeria. I'm talking of Ambassador Yusuf Abubakar Tuggar. Ambassador, welcome to the program.
Pleasure to be here.
I believe the last few days have been a bit frenetic. They've been the ECOWAS summit, and the big issue is Niger. Where are we now? Because it appears as if Nigeria and ECOWAS have been forced to a climb down from your initial position.
Well, I wouldn't exactly put it that way. You have to bear in mind that the primary, or should I say, raison d'etre, the reason for the creation of ECOWAS is regional integration, regional harmony, peace, and the general security of the region. So ECOWAS is always looking to do what is required to bring that about. So what has transpired with regards to Niger is simply to take pragmatic steps towards, once again, a resolution of the current situation there. So
the operative word there seems to be pragmatic. You have been realistic. You are now kind of forced to recognize the new military government in Niger, because you are talking of sending mediators, people who will engage with them. That's the presidents of Togo, Benin, and one other. So why did ECOWAS have to eat the humble pie, so to say, to now kowtow with the Nigerian military rulers?
It's not a matter of eating humble pie or kowtowing. It is, again, a matter of pragmatism. So what transpired immediately after President Bazoum was accosted was pragmatic as well. ECOWAS, the leaders of ECOWAS got together and they took certain measures. They demanded for his release. They demanded that he continue as president. They imposed sanctions. And of course, the fact that they mentioned as a last resort that the use of force was not ruled out was blown out of proportion. Of course, there's so many, interests within. Some misinterpreted that to mean that Nigeria in particular was about to declare war on Niger, and the whole thing was blown out of proportion. But so these are measures, and you have to bear in mind that we're not talking about one country. We're talking about several countries. So,
is this particular incident a sort of learning curve for you and for the administration? Because we are just a few months old when this happened, and it appeared like a hot potato that you are looking for ways to get rid of.
It's the nature of life as a whole. We're always learning, but I wouldn't put it exactly like you did, because the decision was not a unilateral decision by Nigeria. It was a collective decision of ECOWAS.
But some were saying that it's like ECOWAS and Nigeria were trying to do the bidding of maybe the French, the US, and all those international do-gooders who wouldn't put their troops on the line.
When have you ever seen Nigeria do the bidding of an external power? This is a country. No, this is a country. If you look at it, you can't even try to do that. You see, government is not exclusive of the rest of the country. So when you're talking about foreign policy, it's a completely different area. Foreign policy is formulated based on an aggregation of the position of a country, and it is not limited to the leader at the time. It's not limited to the government, but the country as a whole, the nation as a whole. So you're talking about interest groups, you're talking about scholars, you're talking about even the populace and, you know, business community and so on and so forth. So let's not reduce it to just an individual or to just a government. So I don't see the connection. This is just, you know, playing into the hands of the propagandists that decided in order to remain in power, in order to sustain themselves, to label anybody. You know, it was a Manichaean approach. If you're not supporting what we did, then you're doing the bidding of France. And Nigeria has never been that way. You're talking about a nation that nationalized Shell. You and I are old enough to remember.
But those are
Shell,
different
British Petroleums.
This administration is better known for...
Are we not the same people? Was my worldview, I'm foreign minister, was my worldview not formed by growing up during that period when all of this took place?
Certainly it may have.
So then I will go through all of that in life and then wake up one day and then I'll start taking orders from France. That does not make sense. That is pure propaganda, and it was just most unfortunate that certain sections of the country and even media played into that.
So is it more charitable to say that the administration and yourself and ECOWAS were now influenced by the feeling, especially in northern Nigeria, whose communities share a lot with the Nigerians, that now kind of shaped your reconsideration, so that now you are talking of engaging with the regime? You are no longer talking of Bazoum, the former president, being taken back into power?
No, I think you have to read the ECOWAS communique. ECOWAS communique on Niger, number 1, says Bazoum must be released. In fact, not just Bazoum, his family and his associates.
But it was silent on him being president of Niger again.
Yeah, because, you know, that once, you know, time having lapsed, like I said, you know, ECOWAS is being pragmatic. Time has lapsed. And in order to diffuse the tension in the, you know, the prevailing situation, ECOWAS is not insisting that Bazoum has to be returned. You know, it's being pragmatic. So if that you want to reduce it to that, yes, ECOWAS has changed position on that. But ECOWAS has not changed its position on saying Bazoum and in fact, his family and his associates must be released. ECOWAS has not changed its position on saying that unless that happens, the sanctions will not be removed. So sanctions remain until that has been done. The issue of a transition, that is also still on the table. And then finally, ECOWAS is also saying that unless all of these things happen, it is not ruling out the use of force. So even the rule of the use of force
is still on the table.
It's still on the table. So, you know, don't think that, you know, ECOWAS has all of a sudden woken up and that certain people that were playing to the gallery, that were willing to, you know, maybe improve their political standing, and some that were also, you know, in opposition in Nigeria, and some maybe that were even being influenced by external forces, you know, the same external forces that, you know, they're claiming that France, you know. So each person had its own, their own reason for doing that. And some simply just wanted to engage in selfie diplomacy, to go and take pictures with Shani and some other people and then come back here and play to the gallery. Let's leave all of that aside. What we're looking for is peace. We have always maintained a very close and friendly relation with Niger. We're not in conflict with the people of Niger. In fact, we're doing this for the people of Niger. This is why Nigeria and ECOWAS took this position. And
so
you have to separate. You have to separate the actions and the positions taken by a junta from that of the Nigerian populace. Let's not conflict issues.
So with this hardline position,
it is not a hardline position.
A resolution
it is not a hardline,
of the problem.
It is not a hardline position. It's a pragmatic position. And I don't know if you've been listening to the responses. And this is something that we've been saying to the Nigerian junta all along.
But they are saying, in fact, they specifically say that people like you, the Nigerian foreign minister and others, are the ones blocking any resolution of the problem.
Because the position they took was that unless you're going to acquiesce to what they want, which is simply remove the sanctions, and then they decide how long they're going to stay, and Bazoum, whatever happens to him and his children, including young kids, forget it. They don't care. And what we were saying to them is, let us be pragmatic. Release Bazoum and his family. And then we start removing the sanctions. And tell us how long you're prepared to stay. But they were not prepared to do that because the very same people that were playing this game with them within Nigeria and outside of Nigeria were giving them hope that they can pick and choose who to engage either within Nigeria, even within the Nigerian government, and that there was hope that they could bring pressure to bear inside Nigeria to compel the government to change its position and to compel ECOWAS to change its position because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu happens to be leading ECOWAS at this time. So it was a very dangerous game, and it was a very dangerous game for Nigeria itself. So they were offering money. They were offering money.
But Nigeria is a very poor country. Where is it getting money? I mean, many Western countries have closed the tap, stopped aid, and all sorts of things. So if it's money, isn't it Nigeria that will be offering money? I think you should direct
that question to them, because I cannot speak on their behalf. But certainly, we have proof, concrete proof, that they were offering money to people. There were certain people in Niger that were offering money to people here to agitate for the removal of sanctions, to put pressure, in fact, was the words that they were using, to put pressure on the Nigerian government to compel ECOWAS to remove the sanctions. And this move was the pressure was being increased ahead of the ECOWAS summit. So this is no joke.
Okay, now that the summit has held and these heads of states have been, the three have been nominated to go and engage, when is that engagement going to begin?
Oh, right away. It's already started.
It started?
Yes.
They've gone to Niger and sat with the military rulers?
Well, I can't disclose too much information on that, because you see, part of the problem, again, why negotiations did not succeed when we made certain attempts was because everything was being reported in media and social media. And
but maybe it's the fact of life now in the 24/7 kind of society where
not.
Very few things are hidden.
No, it's not. I'm sure, when you're at home in bed and you're snoring, that is not being reported in Daily Trust. So there are a lot of things, a lot of the activities. In fact, your life, I think maybe 80% of what happens is not reported, and you're even a reporter.
Thank you very much for that, and I will expect we'll continue the discussion on Niger after this short break. Viewers, it is 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television, and our guest today is the Nigerian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Abubakar Tuggar. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it is 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television, and our guest today is the Foreign Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Nigeria, Ambassador Yusuf Tuggar. Before we went on break, you were emphasizing the issues at hand over this Nigerian versus ECOWAS and Nigerian issue. How do you see, especially the relationship between the age-old relationship between Nigeria and Niger after this may have passed? Because it appears that we have been rubbing each other the wrong way, or at least at the level of government, maybe not at the level of communities.
Exactly. It's good you made that differentiation. I think it will continue to be good relations between Nigeria and Niger, because the overwhelming majority of Nigerians, and not just in the northern part of Nigeria, all over Nigeria, and indeed all over Niger, they have a close affinity, and they've always supported each other on the global stage, in international organizations, with the trade, across our borders, cultural affinity. All of that makes it almost impossible for us not to get along with each other. So let's, and it's the nature of life, of neighborliness, sometimes of being from one family. Sometimes siblings don't get along with each other. They have disputes, they have disagreements, but they continue to be siblings and look out for each other. And we'll continue to do that with Niger.
Your government inherited a lot of closed borders, not just with Niger, but with other neighboring countries. Is this your government intention to review this? Because you are talking of improving the economy, and then you have shut borders that are very useful for inter-African and neighborly trade. Is this something that you are considering looking at again?
Well, that I think has long passed, because I think one of the early trips that I took as foreign minister was to go to Cotonou for a meeting of the Abidjan Lagos corridor. And in fact, that's why I said, it's important that we look at the entire communique issued by ECOWAS after the summit. If you read it, you will see that the Abidjan Lagos corridor was mentioned there. The fact that there was a meeting, there were agreements, we're talking about removal of tariffs and different measures to be taken to ensure that trade and movement of goods, services, people is seamless across the borders.
So in other words, you are saying the border now between Nigeria and Benin is all open. There is no restriction.
There are certain checkpoints, but we're actually even working on removing those checkpoints along
What
the way.
about those with Cameroon and Chad? Those are countries also bordering Nigeria from other flanks.
We are equally working on that, but our primary focus, of course, for now is ECOWAS, resolving the issues. Since we have a regional economic community, we want it to function properly. Which is not to say that we're not working on the others, but the focus and emphasis, particularly also because of the issues that have been coming up within ECOWAS. So we want that, and we don't forget that we're working on the ECO, the common currency.
We've been talking about it for decades, and it keeps being pushed ahead.
Well,
are you not going to also kick it down the road?
You can see that from the communique. If you read it, you'll see that certain measures have been taken. We're talking about the customs union. That is also another issue. But you cannot do all of this. You can't achieve all of this without peace and security in the region. There are terrorist activities. You can see that some of the countries that are under military regimes, with soldiers recently taken over, like Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is only controlling about 30 to 40% of its territory. The rest of it is in the hands of non-state actors. So it's difficult to establish a common currency, a customs union, if you have these sort of situations. And that is why we are standing firmly against military takeovers and dictatorships.
What about another non-African countries that a lot of Nigerians are interested in going or in trading with? That's the United Arab Emirates. There was an announcement some month back that President Tinubu has cracked the nut of visa, but it turned out not to be exactly true. Where are we on that? When can ordinary Nigerians expect a resumption of that particular visa issuance?
It's you see, it's a process. So sometimes when you meet and you agree that yes, we have both agreed to resolve a problem, but there are certain steps that have to be taken. So in trying to engage again with media and social media, even though you say everything is reported, this is what happened there, without, you know.
But it was a presidential statement that raised the hope. It was the president's spokesman who issued a statement saying the president has solved this problem that has been nagging people for too long.
Maybe there was a misinterpretation or misunderstanding of what he was trying to communicate. But so the issue here is that there was an agreement to work on this, and there are steps to be taken before finally having the visas being issued. And incidentally, visas are still being issued. It's not that there is no Nigerian whatsoever that is allowed.
Of course, I mean, over 1,000 Nigerians were at the COP meeting in Dubai.
Yes, and then again, the media jumped the gun and said, oh, look, Nigerian government has taken over 1,000 people. No. You know yourself.
Yes, but the Nigerian government came out to say 400 plus people from Nigeria went in an age when many people join meetings via Zoom.
You can go online. Yeah, sometimes, you know, these meetings require physical presence of the actors because they're negotiations, you know. And I don't know that Zoom is the most secure means of negotiating, you know. You don't know who's listening. So sometimes you have to go physically to engage, but that is not even a decision of the Nigerian government. You have a lot of civil society organizations, you've got media, you've got
but they are not part of the 400 plus that the government
but it wasn't
admitted.
400. It wasn't 400 that was reported.
No,
it was 1,000,
over 1,000
yes.
from Nigeria.
So
but the government said over 448 or so were from government, I mean, were funded by government coffers at a time when many Nigerians cannot eat.
So which government? Because even governors were there. Do they not have a right to sponsor people? So when you say government, you know, you must not reduce everything to the federal government. We have 3 tiers of government. So if you have federal government sponsoring people to go, that are government officials, then you have state governments. How many state governments are being threatened, are from states that are threatened by climate change here in Nigeria? There's so many. Apart from the border states, the states that border the Sahara, you have states that are affected by flooding. You have coastal states, you have littoral states.
Can we go
back
how many
to the issue of the visa? You need to investigate to find out how many of those states sponsored people out of the 400.
It's part of our reporting almost on a daily basis, but if we go back to the visa issue, you said there is a process. Is there a time frame or is it indefinite?
It's something that's being worked on and it changes, and when there are changes, we're pragmatic.
So probably before the end of this administration?
Well, certainly before the end of this administration. I don't think either side wants to wait another 3-4 years before this issue is
but
resolved.
It's not somewhere near in
it's somewhere
a couple
near.
of weeks.
It's somewhere near. I cannot tell you whether it's weeks or months. I'm not in a position to do that.
Why is Nigeria a bit quiet compared to, say, South Africa over the Israeli-Palestine issue? So many, I mean, is it 18?
Quiet?
Yes, because
Quiet.
Nigeria
I was one of the seven.
appear.
I was one of the seven ministers of foreign affairs that were going to world capitals, meeting with leaders, okay, trying to compel them to stand by a ceasefire and a peace conference to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, to bring about, to implement the two-state solution. So tell me if the South African foreign minister was one of those seven. I was one of them.
No, South Africa did much more than that. It recalled its ambassador. It also sent the Israeli ambassador back home. So it's taken more proactive, publicly viewed stance. And Nigeria seemed...
I was there
now,
with the foreign minister of Saudi Arabia, with the Palestinian organizations, authorities, foreign minister, with the foreign minister of Egypt, with the foreign minister of Jordan, foreign minister of Indonesia. We were the ones that were going around. So it's not just about making pronouncements or withdrawing your ambassador. That is not where the work is. The work is in negotiations and seeking for results. So we have to, let's separate these things. It's not just, you see, again, you're going back to this selfie diplomacy. That's not what this is all about. Diplomacy is about negotiations. Diplomacy is about convincing people to see your viewpoint and implement measures.
So how do you see the Nigerian point of view? This shuttle diplomacy that you said you've done, how do you see it succeeding when a country like US can just sit and veto whatever decision the majority or all other countries have taken at the UN?
Well, these things are gradual. It does not happen overnight. Don't forget that it was the only country that vetoed in the United Nations Security Council was the US. In fact, for the first time maybe in a long while, even the United Kingdom did not vote along with the United States. It abstained. So, you know, we're making progress, and the United Nations Security Council is not the only platform that is being used to bring about pressure on Israel to implement the ceasefire, which was succeeded, by the way. Okay, there was a ceasefire, even though they reverted to...
In 30 seconds, can you tell me what will be the Tuggar initiative in foreign policy? I mean, we had Bolaji Akinyemi's concert of medium power and what have you. What will be your... Is it that 4D you mentioned? As briefly as possible, because we've run out of time.
It's 4D. It belongs to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, and it's democracy, it's development, it's demography, it's diaspora. And I can expatiate on all of these four, so it's not just a
Thank you
slogan.
Very much for putting it so succinctly.
Thank you.
Ambassador Yusuf Tuggar, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Viewers, that's the end of this edition of 30 Minutes. Keep a date with us.